Some of the biggest hurdles for a winery your size?
Well, I guess the toughest one is, how do I say this diplomatically?
Don't be diplomatic.
All right, well, and I'll give it to you. So we had, this past year we had this big issue on wine and grocery stores, right?
Yes.
And I was one of the few guys who actually took the bill out and read it. And when I realized what was in it, I mean, New York wineries missed by about a quarter of an inch getting our heads chopped off. That particular bill was not at all friendly to New York wineries, and I did spend a bunch of time talking to my fellow wineries, saying, "Here, take a copy of it and read it. Do you realize that all's going to happen is big California wineries or importers are going to discount their stuff by the container load, and we're going to get clocked." And I spent the last 30 years of my career selling stuff to supermarkets: bananas, tomatoes, potato chips, Pepsi-Cola. And supermarkets are all about having simplicity, having fewer stock keeping units, and crunching down to just the ones that sell the most. So in the end, I would end up selling 3 or 4 of my varieties to a supermarket, and the rest of them maybe to specialty shops. But the way that law was set up, there weren't going to be any specialty shops in New York State. In Ohio, we do sell there are supermarkets that sell wine, and there are specialty shops. But the way the law was put together in Ohio, there's a minimum markup required by retailers, and there's no volume discounting. So a big supermarket chain, and each supermarket store has to behave as if it were an individual store. So that means that the big chains can't beat up on the mom-and-pop stores. And so you have wine shops, which have a big variety, and you have supermarkets, which have a more constrained variety. It more or less works. But that's not what is going to go on in New York.
So the issue was more in the drafting than it was necessarily in the fact that it was wine in grocery stores.
Well, it's, how do I say this, when you go down the track of having wine in grocery stores, you're dancing with an elephant, and you best be real careful, you're going to get stepped on.
I can almost see the lake through the trees, so we're on Lake Erie.
Yes, you're along the shores of Lake Erie. We're right in the middle of an agricultural zone which consists of 30,000 acres of vineyards. It's a contiguous set of vineyard vistas that you really don't see anywhere else unless you go to the West Coast. My favorite story about that is we hired a photographer to take some pictures for us so we would have an archive, and he explained to me that his pictures are online and people can buy them, and one of those pictures was a vineyard scene from Pennsylvania just across the border, part of our wine trail, and a client wanted to purchase the photograph of a spring vineyard with a mustard seed growing in the middle of the lanes. And it turned out the client was based in California. They wanted to use the photograph on a Napa billboard.
Oh, wow.
And I understand the photograph is also now used in the Napa Valley website in some fashion. So we have a lot to be proud of.
Probably 2/3 of our non-local customers come from out of state. And they stay at bed and breakfasts and go to restaurants and do other shopping. So we're starting to be successful in that mission of bringing this, what has been a relatively economically depressed area in these northern parts of these lake counties, back on its feet.
And the other thing I think that we need to start pounding our chest about is that this is a wonderful fruit belt and food basket, and so we can grow things here and make a farm-to-table production that's unparalleled. And so I love to see Edible Buffalo be successful, and I think Chautauqua County needs to follow in the footsteps of really promoting local farms, not only the wineries, but the vegetable farmers and the people who have dairy farms and cheese production facilities, that sort of thing. And I would add to that picture that the way we live our lives, wine is an elemental component like food. And food and wine pairings, to me, should be the essence of what we're all about. So I would really like to see us promoting more cookbooks, more food and wine pairings, and have that be a more important part of what we do.
We drink our own wine a lot, but I learned this back when I was working for big packaged goods companies. It's important to to taste what else is going on in the marketplace, and keep your eyes open and your palates exposed, because you'll learn new things and you'll get new points of reference. So you don't want to have blinders on by. And besides which, in the wine business, it's a lot of fun not to have blinders on.